Last week I was telling you guys about how I was starting to see some evidence that we could be possibly at the bottom and we might be starting to head up from here. And now I'm starting to see that evidence pile up even more. For instance, last week I was talking about how BlackRock was just now entering the Bitcoin space and they had announced their Bitcoin trust. And that means that the big dogs are starting to enter crypto, and that's usually a good sign of the bottom. Whenever retail investors are all scared and the big dogs start to invest in the markets again, you probably want to start swimming with the whales because that's the smart money and they usually know best. Now we're starting to get evidence that Warren Buffett is now into Bitcoin. This article by Benzinga says that Warren Buffett now owns Bitcoin, and here's how the Oracle of Omaha got exposure. Apparently, Warren Buffett is invested in Nubank, which is a cryptocurrency-friendly bank that could be ending up giving Buffett exposure to the trading of cryptocurrency. Apparently, Nubank is launching cryptocurrency trading of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and its parent company is allocating 1% of its cash into Bitcoin. Berkshire Hathaway apparently owns a stake in New Holdings that is worth over $1 billion. And while this doesn't mean that Warren Buffett does directly own Bitcoin at this time, this means that he is going to have exposure to it. And if it brings him a bunch of money, then maybe he'll stop being so sour on the technology and he'll actually buy some real actual Bitcoin. In other news, other big players are continuing to pile up their Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is supposedly going to reinvest $500 million worth of stock sales into Bitcoin because Michael Saylor obviously wants to own some more Bitcoin, and they're trying to buy the dip and trying to average down probably. It says MicroStrategy holds nearly 129,699 Bitcoin, and they're currently suffering an aggregated loss of over $1 billion. So this means they're trying to just buy in at a lower price, and this could push the price of Bitcoin up in the short term, but they're definitely trying to average down, and this means that they could be thinking that it's the bottom of the market as well. I was talking about that whenever we break out of this downward wedge right here indicated by this white and this blue line, that this is going to be really bullish, and that these have a 70% chance of breaking out to the upside with a price target of the top of the wedge. This means that if we do break out of this downward wedge, then we're probably going to be going back to new all-time highs instead of going back down to new lower lows. But this doesn't mean that we're going to be going straight up to new all-time highs, and we could definitely go sideways for a year or two, and maybe even up until the next Bitcoin halving. I was talking about how here on the shorter time frame we were in this downward wedge, and that the price target for this was the top of the wedge, and if we broke out of that and started heading to the upside, we would probably be breaking out of this downward trend right here that we've been in since the top of the market. Fortunately, this is what started to happen, and it looks like this is starting to turn really bullish. But as you can see, backing up over here, we have seen some false breakouts from this downward trend in the past, like back here in April. And this means that we could definitely be going back down from here if we don't gain some momentum and start to see the volume coming back in. And I think that a lot of that is going to depend on what happens tomorrow. Because as you can see over here, indicated by this yellow line, we do have the CPI coming in. And then it's been moved up, and it looks like the day after that we have the Ethereum merge. So I think that these two catalysts are going to be really big, because if we see the CPI coming in lower than expected, then that means that the Fed expectation is going to be that they could be actually stopping or slowing down their rate hikes, and that could be really bullish for the market. So if we see this coming in lower than expected, and the expectations right here are negative 0.1% month over month and 8.1% year over year, then that means that we could be going to the upside probably pretty quickly, and at least until the Fed meeting, which is about 7 days after the Ethereum merge, or 8 days after the CPI reading. If we see either one of these numbers coming in higher than expected, then I'm going to be thinking that the Fed isn't going to be doing anything lower than a 50 basis point rate hike, and they're probably actually going to be doing another 75 basis point hike if we don't start to see inflation coming down month over month. We did see that 0.0 month over month reading last month, and that means that we're going to have to see something lower than that, or else we're going to be starting to see inflation coming back up, and that means the Fed is going to have to continue with their rate hikes. The merge is coming up in 2 days and 8 hours at the time of recording, according to ethernodes.org. And as you can see over here on Google, if you just search for Ethereum merge, it actually has a countdown over here with a couple of bears, one white and one black, and I think they're probably going to be turning into a panda whenever the merge actually happens. If we see CPI coming in lower than expected and the Ethereum merge goes well, then I think the expectation is going to be that the Fed is going to do about a 50 basis point hike or lower. And if we do see that, then I think we're going to be making some really big gains here in the next couple of months. I'm not sure if MicroStrategy has already made this $500 million purchase. We did see a pump in Bitcoin over the past couple of days, but I think that they're probably going to be waiting to see if the Fed is actually going to be pivoting. They're just getting this money ready for whenever that day does actually come. Right here we have the 2-year moving average multiplier, and as you can see, we are underneath this 2-year moving average indicated by this green line. And that's usually a really good indication that it's a great time to be buying, because even if we are going to be going a little bit lower, this means that we are closer to the bottom than we are to the top, and that's usually a good sign that it's a good time to be accumulating for the next bull run. Looking here on the weekly chart for Bitcoin, you can see that we are having what looks to be a perfect double bottom, and if we can get up over these moving averages right here, then I think this is going to be pretty bullish, and we're going to be moving up to probably the 200-day moving average on the daily chart. Also, we have this MACD crossing over on the weekly chart, which is a really good indication. And if you look over here on the monthly chart, we are actually having a momentum switch here with the momentum indicator on the MACD, which is indicated by these red bars right here. This one turning white right here is a really good sign that we could be starting to see momentum turning back to the upside. And whenever this blue line crosses over this red line, I think that means that we're going to be going back to the upside pretty quickly again. Also, as you can see, we are below this 200-day moving average, as I said, and whenever we do get below that, that's usually a really great time to be accumulating. I think what happens over the next week is going to really matter on what happens with the CPI reading, and if we see it coming in lower than expected, then people are probably going to be expecting a switch from the Fed, and that means that we could be rallying up until the Fed meeting on the 21st. And whenever the Fed meeting actually does happen, if they do a 75 basis point hike or higher, I think we're probably going to be going down a little bit more, but we probably won't be making any lower lows. And if we see anything lower than a 75 basis point hike, then I think that the lowest part of the bear market is already in. And while the bull market might not be coming on really quickly, I think that it's going to be giving us a really great opportunity to accumulate, and this is the moment that we've all been waiting for. I know that it seems like the economy is going to crap and there's all of these global tensions, but that's usually what you want to look for capitulation, because whenever people think the world is coming to an end and everybody's super scared and there's blood in the streets, that's usually whenever you want to be buying. On top of that, we're having all of these really big players like Warren Buffett and BlackRock and even MicroStrategy starting to pour money back into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and I think that this is a great indication that we could be at the bottom, and if we're not at the bottom yet, then we're definitely really close. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Have we reached the bottom of the bear market, or do we have another leg down? Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and don't forget to hit that like button. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.